Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of BAM GPG. And today, Bryson, we're going to continue on with our 4-round mock draft as we make it through the 32 NFL teams. So, who are we doing today, Bryson?
49ers.
The San Francisco 49ers. So we'll get into them today. Again, it's a 4-round mock draft, doing it with no trades, just straight up 4 rounds. We're going to address positions of need while also taking into account the best available player on the board as our picks come up. But if you haven't already, feel free to go ahead and like and subscribe to us. We are on YouTube at BAMGPG as well as TikTok at BAMGPG as well. So, Bryson, let me go ahead and share that out here. So we are getting into our 4-round mock draft. We always do them on PFF, in case anybody's wondering. So let's take a look at, we have the 11th pick in the draft with the 49ers. So our positions of need, Bryson, are going to be guard, tackle, defensive lineman, and cornerback. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this draft kicked off here. I'll let you do a quick recap of the top picks in the draft here.
We got Cam Ward going number 1. Ashton Jeanty going number 2. That doesn't make any sense.
Interesting. The Browns going with the running back.
Will Campbell going number 3.
Tackle from LSU to the Giants, so it brings some help there. The Giants, interesting. I know they brought in a couple of veteran quarterbacks, with Wilson this offseason. But I would think, especially picking at 3, maybe that's a spot where they can move up, or, a Shedeur Sanders or somebody of that caliber. They certainly need to start looking at that franchise quarterback there in New York again.
Then you got Abdul Carter. Travis Hunter falling to number 5.
That's interesting. Pound for pound, I have Travis Hunter probably the best player in the draft this year, but
He's not going to go number 1 now.
no, probably not. I think Cam Ward will probably go number 1, especially for Tennessee. As we mentioned before, they're building that new stadium. They don't have a quarterback right now, at least one that can't avoid throwing pick sixes. So they're going to draft a franchise quarterback this year with that number 1 pick. And I certainly think it's probably going to be Cam Ward. Travis Hunter falling to number 5 is interesting. Jacksonville.
I think you go number 3.
Yeah, certainly in the top 5. Jacksonville needs a cornerback desperately. I mean, their secondary was not great this year. Holes all over the place there. So it makes sense from that standpoint that they would go cornerback.
Yeah, and then you have Stead Membu. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Amond, yep. Going to the Jets.
Pick 7. They needed a tackle. It makes sense.
They do. Jets are an interesting one to me here because I'm not a big fan of what they did this offseason. I know they got a new coach of trying to create a new culture there. Aaron Glenn's in there, but they need a quarterback. They got rid of Aaron Rodgers. I think that was probably still a mistake. I think he's still got a lot left in the tank. And there's a lot of good pieces around that team. They just needed to bring in the right leadership. And I don't like how it's trending so far with Aaron Glenn kind of coming in there, cleaning house at probably the most important position on the team. So that one's interesting. But it's the Jets, right? The Jets do Jet things. So we'll see what happens with them.
And then we got Tyler Warren going to the Panthers, which doesn't make any sense either. They need a wide receiver.
They do. Absolutely.
I feel like Bryce Young is actually surprisingly good.
The Panthers weren't that bad this season. When you get into kind of the numbers a little bit, you dig into it a little bit. A lot of people are still probably hung up on the year prior where they weren't great at all. There are a lot of question marks around Bryce Young, but they played well this season, right? They were a competitive team this year. Are they going to be, one of those elite teams this coming year? Probably not. There's probably still a lot more development to go for them, but certainly trending in the right direction, though.
Yeah. And then we got Jahdae Barron.
Yep, Jahdae Barron.
Going to the Saints. And then Will Johnson going to the Bears.
Yes.
Which they do not need at all.
No, the Bears, they've addressed their offensive line this offseason. Yeah, they got one really good offensive lineman, another one that's kind of a question mark player, but they've went out and addressed that. They got themselves a new head coach, really offensive minded head coach. So we'll see what they do. It's typical of the Bears. They raise that banner in the offseason and don't do much during the regular season, but we'll see. Personally for me, Bryson, still not a big fan of Caleb Williams. I don't think he's that great of an NFL quarterback, but prove me wrong, maybe. So that brings us to pick number 11 here, Bryson. So I will go ahead and take pick number 1 here for us. And again, positions of need for San Francisco: guard, tackle, defensive line, and cornerback. So let's take a look, see what we have on the board here. So right off the bat, we got a wide receiver that I like a lot. He's the top one in the draft, in McMillan from Arizona. So that one's going to be a hard one to pass up. The one that would maybe make me do it, I like Mike Green a lot out of Marshall. So let's go ahead and take a look at both of them here. So McMillan, graded out at an 84.8, Bryson. He had 1,316 receiving yards with 8 touchdowns. Receiving grade 85.8. The one I like to take a look at is his grade versus man coverage, which is pretty good, 89.1, and his contested catch rate is at 60%. It's really good. He's a big bodied wide receiver, right? He's 6'5, 212 pounds. You like that size a lot. So I like McMillan, but let's go ahead and take a look at our edge rusher here. So Mike Green, I love Mike Green. So 92.4 overall grade, 17 sacks, 10 hits on the quarterback, 32 hurries, pass rush grade of 91.4, run defensive grade of 90.2, 6'4", 248-pound defensive end out of Marshall. It's going to be hard to pass on him. I want to think offense here, but I can't pass up on a guy like Mike Green here. In the first round, he's available. I'm going to go ahead and take him, address that defensive line position. So let's scroll back up here. Just take a peek at Green Bay here, see who they went with. So they went with a tackle. Interesting. Josh Simmons from Ohio State. It's an interesting pick there in the first round, but typical Green Bay pick in the first round, nonetheless. Derek Harmon went to Jacksonville. I like him a lot too in the second round. So, Bryson, that brings us on the board here to pick number 43. And look who's on the board for us.
Jaden Higgins.
We don't need a wide receiver, but Jaden Higgins, I love him a lot at wide receiver. But go ahead. What position do you want to take a look at here, Bryson?
I want to take a look at cornerback.
So let's
because we already got wide receiver.
Well, Debo is gone now, so keep that in mind. I took a defensive edge rusher in the first round. So cornerbacks. So Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky is still on the board. He graded out at a 67. Didn't have a great season.
No, thanks.
All right, so we're going to pass up on Maxwell Hairston here. Benjamin Morrison's available. He graded out as 71.4. Again, it's only 6 games he's played, so not a great snapshot of his season. Did have an injury, kind of a season-ending injury that he'll be battling back from.
No. Let's take a look at Darian Porter.
Darian Porter from Iowa State. So Darian Porter had a good combine. I don't know if you remember when we were going over that, Bryson. But
I remember.
Yeah, solid combine. So he graded out at a 79.4. Allowed 5 receptions on 17 targets. Coverage grades a 90.1. Run defensive grade, not great at all, 36.8. It's really got to improve on that. Man coverage grade 63.5, and his zone coverage grade is a 91.1. 6'4", 200 pounds. He's a big corner out of Iowa State. So we can keep looking at cornerback, or we can pull up another position in need too.
Let's take a look at wide receiver and cornerback.
So let's pull up both here. So wide receiver and cornerback. So our top one on the board here and the top one overall. at our pick 43 is Jaden Higgins
Let's
from
take a look at him.
Iowa State. So he graded out at a 90.3. He had 1,185 yards, Bryson, on 9 touchdowns. Receiving grade's fantastic, 90.5 on the season. His contested catch rate's pretty good as well, 58.3. And his man coverage, I love this grade, 87.8. Again, he's a big-bodied wide receiver out of Iowa State. He's 6'4", 215, similar to McMillan in that aspect.
Yeah, it's tough between him and Darian Porter.
Yes, that's the tough one. Porter had a great combine. He's a big cornerback. But Jaden Higgins he's a talent, right? He's a force on the outside. He's a big-bodied wide receiver. So
I can't pass upon Jaden Higgins.
all right. So Jaden Higgins going to San Francisco in the 2nd round. So we're gonna go ahead and draft him here. And that brings us to pick 75. So I will go ahead and take this pick. So we got wide receiver and defensive line. Let's take a look at some of our offensive linemen here. So we'll pull up tackle and let's look at our guards as well here. Inside. So Ozzy Trapilo, I know we've talked about him before from Boston College. Pull him up. So he graded out as 76.8, allowed 2 sacks, 1 hit, and 12 quarterback hurries. Run blocking grade, Bryson, was 69.9. Pass blocking grade was 80.5. And he's a 6'8", 309-pound tackle out of Boston College. Big, big, big boy. So, got him on the board. We haven't addressed corner yet. Let me take a look at corner as well. Dorian Strong's probably a little bit too early for him. We've taken our wide receiver. Let's take a look at Jordan Burke here. So 77.6. I'm just not in love with any of those guys here. Let's go ahead and draft our offensive tackle. Let's take Ozzy Trapilo here with the pick. So again, just cover through Ozzy. Ozzy, 76.8 overall grade. Run blocking grade, 69.9. Pass blocking, 80.5. 2 sacks allowed, 1 hit, and 12 hurries. And again, huge body tackle out of Boston College. So I'm going to go ahead and draft Ozzy here. So Bryson, that'll bring us to our next pick here in the draft. So we kind of have a plethora of picks here in the first 4 rounds for these guys.
Yeah. Let's take a look at D linemen.
So defensive linemen. So we will take a look at our edge and our interior defensive line.
Let's take a look at Deon Walker.
Deon Walker. So he graded out at a 71.2, allowed or had 4 sacks, 18 hurries, 3 batted passes. Pass rush grade 75.4, so pretty average there. Run defensive grade 67.7, so flirting average there. He's a big defensive lineman. He's 6'6", 345 pounds out of Kentucky. He's a big boy.
I'm going to take him. We're not going to get much better at this point.
No. And, I'm looking at him, Bryson. His size, I'm kind of shocked that his run defensive grade isn't equal or greater than his pass rushing grade, to be honest with you. So, but we will go ahead and take him here. And that will bring us on the clock again. So we have a linebacker. I know we've looked at him before, Jeffrey Bassa from Oregon. So he graded out as 73.4, had 34 tackles, pass rush grade 67.5. His run defense grade 72.1. His coverage grade at linebacker 70.2. And let's take a look here. 6'2", 235. So your typical linebacker size here. We haven't addressed corner. Let's take a look at that. So Kobe Bryant is still on the board.
Not the basketball player.
No, not the basketball. Kobe with a C. So he graded out an 80.9, coverage grade 76.9, run defensive grade pretty good, 91.3 there. His man coverage it's kind of slacking a little bit, slightly below average at a 68.6. His zone coverage is 77.1. Had allowed 2 touchdowns, had 4 interceptions on the season, and he's a 6'1", 175 corner. I'm going to look at his counterpart here, Mello Dotson, graded out as 77.1. 5 interceptions on the season for him. Coverage grade 78.3. Run defense 66. Man coverage 74.2. And zone 75.8. He's 6'1", 190. I like them both, but I'm going to go ahead and draft Kobe Bryant here, and with our pick at number 1.
Not the basketball player, the football player.
Not the basketball. R.I.P. to Kobe here. So our last pick in the draft here, Bryson, you are on the board with pick 138.
Have we got guard yet?
We haven't addressed guard yet, no.
Okay, let's take a look at guard.
So you got Luke Kondra
Take a
from
look at him.
Cincinnati. So he graded out at a 76.7. Didn't allow any sacks, only 1 hit and 7 quarterback hurries on the season. That's pretty good numbers out of him. His run blocking grade 74.3, which is slightly above average. His pass blocking grade pretty good, 84.1 on that. And size wise, he's 6'4", 323. So pretty good size for a guard here.
I'm gonna take him.
Let's take Luke Kondra here.
Okay.
So there we go. So our first pick, Mike Green with an A at edge rusher from Marshall, and Jaden Higgins, a B, wide receiver from Iowa State. And then our third pick, Ozzie Trapilo, tackle from Boston College, A- on that pick, Bryson. Deion Walker, defensive lineman from Kentucky, a B+, big boy. And then Kobe Bryant, cornerback from Kansas, B+ there. And Luke Kondra, our guard from Cincinnati, a B- there. So overall grade for this draft for the 49ers is a B+. So let us know what you think if you're 49ers fan.
34% of drafts.
Yeah, so not bad. Not bad. I would feel pretty good about this win. If I was a 49er fan, we came out of the draft through the first 4 rounds with these players, I'd feel pretty good about it. It's a good plethora of talent right there. But let us know what you think in the comments, who you would have taken in the first 4 rounds, or maybe somebody you got an eye on here in the first 4 rounds. Niners do have the 11th pick in the draft, and again, they have a ton of capital here in the first 4 rounds. It does give them that flexibility to trade up if they wanted to, or they could trade down and acquire some more picks here in the first 4 rounds, kind of reload. So we will see. But Bryson, we will be back. We're making our way through these 32 teams. I know you're excited about the NBA as well. It's coming down to the end of the season here. So looks like Chicago's going to be making a push here for the NBA championship.
Nope. Not even close.
Not even close. So, as you know, Bryson's a big Celtics fan, and the Celtics, they're going to finish second in the Eastern, right? I think after yesterday's, the Bulls lost yesterday, kind of taking them out of contention for that number 1 spot there in the Eastern Conference. So it looks like you guys.
Of course, it had to be the Bulls.
It did, yeah. We couldn't help you guys out. Are you kidding me? But we'll see. The Bulls are going to make a strong push here. So we'll see what shakes up here. Out of the Eastern Conference, should be exciting. But
we'll have some updates on it soon.
We will. I fully expect the Bulls to make a strong push for the championship in the East.
And I don't. And
my Western Conference pick, this is a tough one for me.
I got to go with the Thunder.
It's going to be hard to pick against Thunder. They've had one heck of a season. Thunder Lakers. I'm going to go with the Lakers. Got a Bulls and Lakers championship.
If the Celtics and the Thunder.
Celtics and Thunder. All right. We will see whose matchup's correct. Probably not mine, but there's hope, right? We're in the play-in tournament, so there's hope for us. But we'll see. We'll keep you guys updated as we get further into the NBA playoffs, as we wind down the regular season here. And again, we'll make our way through all 32 NFL teams. We've gotten through a good number of them here, but we will keep pumping them out for you guys. Let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know who you want to see next on the 4-round mock draft. And as always, Bryson,
It's Go Pack Go.